Carl's Quality Cooling and Heating, and today we are in the studio taking questions from you, the homeowner, on things you should know about your HVAC system. And today we're talking about trust and hiring of HVAC companies. I have with me the Senior System Design Specialist, Justin Tubbs, and a System Design Specialist and Comfort Advisor, Philip Cole. Thank you guys for being here today. So my first question for you. What should people look for when hiring or choosing an HVAC company?
Well, that's a really good question. So one thing I always tell people to do, like if they don't live in our region, they can't choose us, I say look for a company that is a factory authorized dealer. So someone who is actually factory authorized by a major manufacturer. The one I always ask them to look for is Daikin, because Daikin is very discriminating in who they allow to be factory authorized dealers. And so you have to pass certain thresholds of accountability and things like that to be a real factory authorized dealer. Look at their online reviews, like real customers who are really used to them, and look at what the reviews actually say. Because if they say, oh man, they did a bad job, but at least they got a cheap price, maybe avoid that one. But look for people who've actually used them and look at their reviews, and then also look at things like consumer reports and what they say about companies and what you should look for. Whenever you look for HVAC companies and you're looking for guidance and you're Googling and things like that, the number one results you're going to find are paid and promoted. There's someone paying for you to see that information. But if you go beyond that and you look at sources like ACA, which is a national nonprofit designed to protect homeowners from predatory contractors, the Air Conditioning Contractors of America, they have a really good guidance about what you should look for. Do they perform manual J, heating and cooling load calculations? Do they do manual D duct designs? Or do they just size systems based upon vague rules of thumb and what's already there? So there's all kinds of guidance out there available. Also, the U.S. Department of Energy has really good guidance for choosing contractors.
Yeah, it's really important that your contractor be comprehensive in how they address your HVAC needs. As Justin likes to say sometimes, which I think you got the saying from somewhere else, but a problem can't be solved at the same level of thinking that created the problem in the first place, which means we need to do our due diligence as contractors to be comprehensive in solving those problems.
Yeah, so just when you hear there's a problem, going in like this and not looking at everything. Yeah, smart, okay. Well, how can customers avoid being overcharged or upsold unnecessarily?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So what's a common practice in the AC business, and this is a little bit of inside baseball, but you need to know about it, is that companies will often hire people and actually hire them at a very low hourly rate as a technician. And so that their compensation is really 100% dependent upon how much stuff they sell you in the home. And so they have a potential for making lots of money if they can be really good at selling stuff rather than fixing stuff. And so our company does not operate like that. It doesn't matter whether you buy a thermostat from the guy or not. He just makes an hourly rate and he is fairly compensated for his good labor. But what will happen, and a big red flag that you'll find, is that they're trying to offer you a bunch of things without really justifying those expenditures. So, oh, you need a UV light, and oh, you need an air scrubber, and oh, you need an ironizer, and how about this, and how about surge protectors, and how about, and again, those might all be valid things that address real problems, but if they can't explain it or actually justify it in a way that makes sense to you, that's often a red flag that maybe they're just upselling you to profit themselves and not necessarily bring value to you.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, speaking of red flags, what are some red flags that homeowners should look for other than that one? What are some other things they should look for?
Well, speaking of a salesperson or a selling tech or a tech that might come to your home and make several recommendations on what you need to do about your HVAC situation, if any one of those individuals won't personally show you with your own eyes, what's actually going on with your system, but they're just counting on you to not challenge them because you're not an HVAC expert. And they say you need this kind of cleaning and you've got this going on in your plenums and you need this and that, and it's it starts to be a pretty big bill, but they're not personally showing you, so you're having to take their word for it. That's kind of a red flag. We prefer to take a practice of, here, you can see yourself what's happening. You know.
Yeah, if a customer is able to make it up into the attic and like physically look at the equipment themselves, we want them to come and look. If they,
It's not a secret. Like you can look at your own system.
yeah, well, there's been so many times, and I find myself apologizing for our industry more often than I'd like to admit. But I go to people's houses, they're in a panic because they were shown pictures of horrible stuff inside their equipment, and I go out for a second opinion, and I don't find any of that stuff. And I will physically bring the homeowner myself and say, hey, look, what do you see? And they're like, nothing. And yeah, because often people will show pictures to scare people and things like that.
And they'll even preface it as, well, this isn't what your house looks like. This isn't a picture of your house, but this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like.
We do actually run into that. So red flags would be also like if you're looking at a system replacement situation. So maybe not like a normal service call. If they don't measure anything, if they don't look at your existing ductwork, if they're not doing a manual J heating and cooling load calculation, which the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation for air conditioning contractors requires be done on every house. If they're not doing a manual J heating and cooling load calculation to determine how many BTUs of heat are coming into your house per hour and how much air conditioning you need to keep it out, if they're not doing that, the basic bare minimum, that's a big red flag. If they're not doing a manual D duct design, that's a big red flag. If they're promising you, oh yeah, we can install this new 16 SEER, 17 SEER system, but not even looking at whether or not your existing ductwork can support 16 SEER, because the efficiency rating on air conditioning equipment is just potential efficiency. It's not actually delivered efficiency. The amount of efficiency that a system delivers is 100% dependent upon the ductwork, the duct design, return air, supply air, ventilation, all of that. Also, the capacity of the equipment is 100% dependent upon those things. We've been to people's houses with 5 tons of air, a 5-ton air conditioning system that's only delivering 2 tons of actual cooling because of design issues. And so if they're not measuring anything, if they're not looking at your ductwork, if there's a nice guy talking to you about system options without looking at anything, that's a huge red flag.
Well, here's another one. How about someone who provides a quote but doesn't include any model numbers and no AHRI number?
We run into that all the time, where people are promised one thing but delivered another, and then you go back and look at that proposal and there's no model numbers, there's no verification of what they're getting.
It's not the same thing at all. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, that happens. Honestly, that happens more frequently than I'm surprised at about how often it happens.
Well, guys, thank you so much for answering the questions today from our homeowners out there in Montgomery County area. I'm Samantha. This has been Justin and Philip with Carl's Quality Cooling and Heating. Check us out on www.carlsac.com.